This is Brian Bailey from Charlottesville, Virginia, and I'm joined with Mark Sweeney from Windermere, Florida. We are your guides to this episode of In the Hunt. We are going to bring clarity to this complex game of golf and help you reach your next level of performance. So if you're ready to step up your game, join us on The Hunt. Welcome to this week's episode of In the Hunt. We're going to dive into a new topic, kind of pushed by a couple college coaches and coaches we've been talking to here over the last couple days. This segment's going to be called In the Numbers, or What the Numbers Say. But before we dive into exactly what we're going to talk about, let's welcome Mark in. Mark, how are you doing, and what's going on in Windermere?
I'm doing fine. Windermere's just still hot. Still waiting for the cool weather to come in. It hadn't happened yet. Maybe next week, but it's still high 80s, 90s.
Man,
doing some teaching, doing some number crunching, which I love doing. Obviously, just kind of digging down to the root of issues, because as we know, golf's so multidimensional. You get players sometimes who are like, I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but my score is going the wrong way. What's going on? And that can be kind of a fun process of just kind of digging through it and figuring it out.
Yeah, I think that's exciting, and the weather up here has been spectacular. We're in fall right now.
Yeah.
Today was I think today's high is 68 degrees. I'm playing this weekend with my son and a member, and it's going to be I think 65 and sunny both days, and we're playing in the afternoon.
I see you have your Masters hat on today.
I do. I was having a bad hair day. I don't have much hair, but when it's bad, it's real bad.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see I'll be going to the Masters this November, so it'll be interesting to see how cold or not cold it gets, or what the deal is there.
It'll be interesting.
If I can buy a hat, I think I can buy a hat. They have some special deal for merchandising, which I think maybe it's all online or something, but it's not. It's there's no or hardly any spectators, so I don't really know what they're doing with concessions and cheese sandwiches and sausage biscuits in the morning, which I usually eat every morning. I'm just going to be really bothered if they're not available.
Yeah, I know. And everyone's talking about how Bryce is just going to dominate and overpower the Masters. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, he's gearing up. You saw that article. He's like,
yeah, man,
hit a ton of drives and just pound it out there.
It's going to be interesting. And does Augusta have any tricks?
I don't know. I haven't been out there in a while. I haven't been out there since last Master, so I don't know.
Yeah.
There's always something going on.
I wonder if they've imported some new trees that have weird canopies.
Really tall ones. What's the tallest tree in the world? Redwoods? California redwoods? Start sticking some of those out there.
Or what you do is right off at certain angles where he wants to cut corners, you have these huge trees now right off the tee box.
I think you just put like blimps out there like they did in D-Day, for the fighters. Just fly a bunch of blimps out there. If you get through them, fine. If not, your ball hits it.
and explodes. Oh, sorry,
that's Exactly.
Golf would be a lot more fun to watch.
That would be cool, actually.
Landmines in the
clear
fairway.
cellophane, so you couldn't even see them on TV.
Landmines in the fairway. Why not?
Right. Make it a contact sport.
Apocalyptic golf, maybe one day.
Zombie golf.
That's right. All right, so let's try to get on topic here.
Oh yeah.
So Mark and I deal with a lot of players, a lot of coaches, all different levels, but definitely a lot of higher end players that are trying to look for that next shot. That give me that one shot I need to get to this next elevation point in my career. And I think two areas that we see the most professionally. Probably a little less with par 5 scoring, and we're going to talk some par 3 scoring. But really for the collegian that's trying to make that step into professionalism, or even the junior trying to go collegian, or a good amateur just trying to hack some shots off their handicap, I think getting this concept of par 5 scoring and par 3 scoring kind of with a hazard we're going to talk about are two main areas that I think the numbers really reveal what needs to happen, and I don't think a lot of people understand the numbers are what needs to happen. So let's run a hypothetical here for you, Mark. We are in a par 5. I hit a great drive. Let's say I'm 230 yards, well within my wheelhouse of hitting a club up around the green or on the green. What do the numbers say?
Well, 230, the numbers say if you can get inside 40 yards without taking a penalty, you go. The numbers say you're better any lie, other than a hazard, any lie inside 40 yards is better than every lie out at 100 yards. So you're better off in the bunker at 20 yards or the rough at 30 yards or the fairway at 25 yards than you are back in the fairway at 90 or 100. I ran a graph, and maybe I'll share this for the people who are watching this on TV. Hold on, I'm going to share my little graph here. So I ran the numbers that basically said, okay, your third shot on a par five, how close are you approaching from, and what's the average score? So all the way from 200 yards down to 0 yards, meaning you're basically in the hole at that point. Kind of what's the average score? And the way the graph works is from 200 yards down to about 90 to 100. You're better and better and better off as you get closer and closer. So the average score is lower from 100 yards than it is from 110, and 110 is lower than 120. So you basically come into that, kind of optimal layup zone, which is, 90 to 100-ish on average. But then the average score actually inflects back up between, 80 yards and about 50 yards. It actually gets worse and worse as you get closer. And then starting about 40 yards or so, it inflects back down, and then an extremely fast decline as you get inside 30 yards. 20 yards is dramatically better than 30 yards, and 10 yards is dramatically better than 20. So this kind of drives our strategy. Our layup zone is kind of 80 to 100. Anytime you can lay up, kind of get in that zone. But there's what we call the no-go zone, which is kind of 40 to 70. Generally, people perform worse there than layup, and you're definitely way better off inside 40 than outside 40. So that's kind of your decision. Can you get inside 40 yards without taking a penalty? Yes. Okay, go for it. Are you going to take a penalty? Okay, stay away from the hazard. Obviously, depends on what club and you're targeting on that. But don't really ever purposely put yourself in that 40 to 70 yard range, even if it's in the fairway.
No, I think this is a really fascinating. So kind of to pull back a little bit, if you think of par fives, roughly you on average have 4 around. So high-end player, what expectations would we have for total birdies on those 4 holes?
High-end player, you want to be shooting, at least 1.5 under par, ideally 2 under par. So you want to get half your birdies, half your par fives you want to birdie. Sometimes it's a little bit lower, sometimes it's a little bit higher, but at least 1.5, 2 would be good. Winners tend to be better than 2, but if you look at every tour player, I think men's and women's last year, not a single player who kept their card, and I think on PGA Tour, not a single player who started any single event averaged above par on the par fives. Par threes they will, but not on the par fives.
And I think that's a concept that I think a lot of people miss of how important par 5 is into your scoring. And I think a lot of that too is, looking at your graph, if, basically from, let's say 50 to about 90 yards, you're just averaging just a hair under par. Where if you get all the way down to about 20 yards, you're looking at about maybe almost close to a full shot under par. So that concept of where I need to be to maximize my opportunity to go under par. I know when I learned golf, it was really simple. Lay up to a zone that you're comfortable with, or 100 yards, 90 yards, and attack the golf course from that. But the numbers really show you that really puts you at a number that's really relatively close to par, that I'm not really taking advantage of the situation. So kind of a strategy wise, what have you seen with players that you've worked with on how you can take this strategy and kind of implement it on the golf course, and maybe even start pulling back to some training?
Yeah, I mean, depends on the level of player. The better the player gets and the more they progress towards a tour player, the more they understand the critical importance of scoring on your par fives. I mean, imagine if you had a 275 yard par 4 and you're like, well, I can't quite get there, so I'm just going to hit a 6-iron off the tee. Like that's what laying up on a par 5 is like. If you can get anywhere within 20 or 30 yards and you lay up, it's basically like laying up with an iron off a short par 4 and then saying, well, I'd rather have 100 yards in on the short par 4 than be up green side and just have to get up and down for birdie. Or worst case, don't get up and down and make par. I know it's the safe way. It's kind of the old school golf, hit fairway, lay up, hit a wedge onto the green, and you'll make an equal number of birdies and bogeys, which is the reality. But you're not getting any competitive advantage there, and you really need competitive advantage. Hard to find competitive advantage on par 3s, especially as they get longer and longer. So, so for training it, first the mindset, the strategy's got to be, a strategy that works, which is kind of the one we just laid out, either lay up or get inside 40 yards, but stay out of that kind of middle no-go zone. And that means you got to be working on your high bridge or 3-woods. You got to be able to put them in play without too big of a dispersion. I mean, you're not trying to hit the green every time because obviously you're going to hit the green maybe 1 out of 10 times you go for it. But you've got to be able to at least keep it in play and not hit it, in a hazard or hit in the trees or hit in bushes, things like that, which we do see some issues with younger players. But you also got to work on your greenside wedges, 40 yards and in, 30 yards and in. You've got to get better and better with your wedges out of the rough and out of the bunker.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of a cool, fascinating way of training. We talked about this in the past, that the average lateral dispersion is roughly 5%, carry 2 roughly. So the really fascinating part, at 40 yards, your average miss is actually 8 feet. So this again kind of ties back into that concept of, it's important to get, the closer I get, my most average shot gets closer and closer to the cup, which again, if I can average 8 feet, I'm going to that's my blackjack range. I should be making 65, 70% of my putts in that zone, right around 8 feet. Like, this is what should happen. So I think the fascinating part is just getting that concept of where the numbers are and they're trying to push you. I had a aspiring woman professional, just graduated college, laid up to a certain distance, but come to find out, I've never seen her play. We were talking the other day, and she averages about 260 off the tee, 270 on the women's side, which is bombing it. Yeah. And she went for nothing. So she played her last couple of events, and her goal was, there's no such thing as a layup unless there's a hazard. And she goes, well, her scoring average dropped. Her birdies have gone way up, and the concept of just getting her around the green and being comfortable. So I think a lot of times that mindset is a big training piece, as any piece, is just
big time, yeah,
allowing yourself to do it. I think go ahead.
Right, and big time. And you've got to be comfortable with a 30-yard wedge shot out of the rough, as comfortable or more comfortable as you are with a 90-yard wedge shot from the fairway. And most people are like, well, I'm so comfortable at 90 yards in the fairway. Well, yeah, but you're not going to make a ton of birdies in there, and you are going to make some bogeys. You are going to miss the green from 90 yards in the fairway more often than you'd like to, and you are going to make bogeys. Once you get 30 yards in the rough, yeah, you might not love that shot, but you need to go train it, because that's where you're really going to capitalize on these par fives, getting up and down for birdie.
No, I agree. And I think the fascinating part too, if you train that, you're also training your up and downs and scrambling. Yeah. And we know collegiately and junior is definitely an area to practice. So if you can think of it as a way to make birdie and not save par, and that makes you train it a little bit better, that's a positive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you don't take all your bogeys out when you go for it, but you get a lot more birdies, and you will get some pars. But everybody we've ever seen on this, when they go for it more often, their scoring average goes down on par fives. Every single person.
And I would say one of my favorite that I kind of had her do, and other players that are trying to change that mindset, is I actually get them to go play an entire round of golf, and every par 4 is a go for it. So don't even worry about your tee shot. You can hit a tee shot if you want to practice your tee ball, but more so you're just going to go in the fairway or light rough or whatever, simulate different conditions, and your par 4, you're going to rip at it from anywhere from 220 to 260 yards. I'm going to drop balls throughout the round on the par 4s, and I'm going to treat every par 4 as a par 5. I get go for it. So I think that's a really good way of, you can take an entire round. You can have, roughly 14 go for it's between the par 5s and the par 4s, and just kind of start getting that concept, when to go, when not to go, what clubs work out at different conditions. I'm amazed by how many players I work with, and they don't have a clue what the rough does to their hybrid or to a utility or even a 3-wood in reference to, but they could tell me, all the variations in the fairway, but they don't ever practice out of the rough or whatever. So again, just that concept of playing shots, hitting crazy shots on par 4s, and kind of getting that mindset again of, I've got to figure out how I can create opportunities. And again, it's not hitting the green. It's, on a par 4, maybe I got to bail out left short. Well, what club can I do that with? Again, it's to me, it's creating a library of shots and an understanding, more so than sitting on a safe range and just say, can I hit it 230? Yeah, off a great lie, off of mats. I'm really good at that. But kind of changing that concept, to me, has been my favorite go for it drill that really forces the players to actually hit shots and think differently.
Yeah, another one you can do, I love that one. Another one you can do is go out and play 2 balls, hit one 100 yards from the fairway, and then play another one that's inside, 30 yards and in, any lie you want, and see which one you score better on.
Yeah.
right? Or you play from the fairway at 100, and I'll play from the green side 10 to 30 yards in the rough or the bunker anyway. Try to beat me.
I've seen you. I'll win that.
Right. Well, you might win it.
I've seen
when
that.
I say
I'll win
you,
that.
I didn't mean you. I meant a hypothetical person.
I got you. It's like the closer I get you to the green, my odds go up dramatically.
For me, that might be true. Yes.
I'll be like, nah, I'm going to give you a 10-yard chip, bro.
Yeah, right.
I'll play back here at 110. You're at 10 yards. Listen, but you got to hit it high soft. You're done.
Oh, you're calling shots now, huh?
Well, I'm going to force you to have to hit a shot. I get to pick your lie.
No. You if you pick my lie, I can hit whatever shot I want.
There you go. But again, I think the fascinating part is just understanding how important par fives are to scoring. If you've listened to some of our seminars in the past, we talk about this a lot. And I know we've changed the direction of many college teams by getting with their coach and speaking how important par fives are, all the way to touring professionals and changing what they do and their kind of trajectory of their career as well. So I think, again, there's a lot of information in golf. Some of it's good, some of it's information. Do with it what you want, but by the numbers, really to attack par fives, we've got to go under par, and the best way to do that is really getting as close to the green as possible. And
yeah, so what do you say to the maybe one of the biggest pushback I get, besides, well, I can't hit the green, so don't bother, is, well, I'm just not long enough. I'm just not long enough on the tee to even have a chance. What is your response to that?
Well, there's a lot of ways to attack a par five. Well, maybe if I'm playing, if it dog legs and I'm not trying to cut a corner, maybe so again, it goes back to strategy. Maybe I'm taking a much safer line, and that forces me to be too far out. So it could be something as simple as changing my target line off the tee box, maybe trying to hug a corner more and being okay with it being in the first cut of rough to still attack. But again, if you're able to cobble together two shots and get inside of 50 yards or 40 yards, the numbers are with you. So again, to me as a coach, is we've got to come up with a concept of what can we do to get there. If there's a hole we can't get there, if it's a 700-yard par five and there's no way I can get there, I can't get there. It's okay. Let's put up a game plan on how to get where I need to get. But to me, I think as a coach and a player and going into an event, when ideally I've already mapped this out on a yardage book, or I've looked at Google Earth, I can kind of figure out where I can and can't attack. But in your practice round, to me, it's not play the hole. It's play the hole to figure out how I can get there. I don't really care about the results of me hitting from the fairway. It's me off this tee box. Can I create an angle that allows me to attack that? Can I get to a point in a fairway that allows me to attack and get far enough? So to me, it's more of a strategy and the mindset, and the numbers tell you if you can get there, right? And if you can get there, you've got to come up with a strategy to get there. Now, if you're winning on Saturday or Sunday and you got a big advantage, change that strategy. It's okay to make par. There's a different mindset. But again, the concept of having to attack and having to make birdie to win golf tournaments, you've got to be ultra competitive and risky per se on par fives, because I need to score here, because that's where the disproportionate amount of my blackjacks and birdies come from, are par fives. So me playing at average, I'm just going to be average in the field.
Yeah. So basically, if you take your par five yardage and take 40 yards off it, if you can't make that yardage in two shots, then you can't go for it. Like if you can't do driver three wood or whatever, or driver three wood, and you can't make the par five yardage minus 40 under any circumstances, then I guess you're stuck laying up. But good luck playing pro.
Yeah, good luck playing anything competitive.
Good luck playing pro if that's the case, and that's might be unfortunate. And that's maybe where you got to go hit the gym and work on your distance and work on your ground forces. But but
I know some guys.
But good luck. Yeah, there's a couple guys out there right now who'll help you with that.
But I think before we switch to the par three here, what are our golden rules on when not to go for a par five? I think we should go ahead and give them the golden rules. Go ahead.
When do you not go for it? You don't go for it if you can't get inside 40. You don't go for it if there's a high probability of taking a penalty, right? Water, trees, bushes that are just going to either lead to a drop or a chip out or an actual penalty stroke. And that's case by case. On the PGA Tour, they classify par fives as go for it holes or not go for it holes, and a not go for it hole means it's either too long or nobody goes for it, either because it's too long or because the way it's set up, it's just the penalty is way too high to even try to go for it. So if you're 275 out on an island green, okay, don't go for it. Right?
Yeah.
Fine. You don't have to do every single time, but it really comes down to penalties around the green.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Can I do it? If I can, check. Is there a penalty that'll prevent me to bring in a possible bigger number? If there's not, you better be.
Yeah, and some of it's situational. I mean, if you're protecting a lead with a 50% chance to take a penalty, no, don't do it. If you're chasing and you have to make birdie, that's your call. Do you want to win or do you want to finish second?
That's right.
It's your call.
well, the beauty is I might have a lead, but if I'm parring a bunch of par fives, that lead might get erased pretty quickly by the field.
Yeah, and finishing second's not a horrible place to be either, versus making a double and finishing 15th.
No, that is true, but it also depends on what tour. Finishing second could suck.
Yeah, yes, that's true. Yeah, there's some tours finishing 15th, you'll get like $50.
That's right. You'll get like $12.
Right. You'll get free lunch.
Not even. All right. So hazards are a big part inside of par five scoring, and I think that same mentality is kind of like a par three, right? Par fives, we're going for it. We're trying to be aggressive, but we've got to shy away from hazards. And I think par threes are kind of one of the. I know collegiately is one of the most misunderstood rules in golf that we really harped on with our team was what happens to your scoring average, Mark, if there's a hazard on a par three and you happen to end up going in that hazard? What is the probability of my score?
I mean, the probability by far, your most likely score is double. If you hit it in the water, hitting the hazard, your most likely score is a double. Yeah, you can make bogey, and some people do, but you're most likely making double. If you hit it in a greenside bunker, your most likely score is bogey, right? So obviously hazards are worse, but it's double city. But greenside bunkers are pretty punitive also versus the rough. Greenside bunkers lead to a higher average score than the rough does. So going back to par three strategy, just do not hit it in the water. Take whatever club you have to. Now, if it's an island green, okay, you got to hit a good shot. But if the water's short or long or left or right, do not hit it in the water.
Yeah, no, I think, again, to me, that concept is ridiculously simple, but I've seen collegiately, because collegiately where I coached my longest period, and I saw thousands of golfers over my close to 20 years of collegiate golf, and the amount of bad decisions and bad strategies on par three with hazard was absolutely amazing to me as a coach. I know there were certain tournaments. I know we played this one course called Landfall. It's in North Carolina. There's a par three. I think it's 16. Fairly long for the golfer. Hazard right. You just can't go right. And I saw national championships lost because teams couldn't figure out how to stay out of that hazard. It was just all the room left you wanted to go. The worst thing you would have made would have been a bogey. And like our team, what did we tell them to do? Tee up on the right side, aim left side of the green, and don't care where the pin is.
Right.
This is a hole that if we can get out of here with par, we're happy. If you make a bomb, we'll celebrate. But you know what? If you do bogey or worse, that's what the field's going to do. You can actually separate. So again, that strategy and that mindset of par three scoring is really imperative for the player to be able to post a number. And, my general rule as a coach is bogeys are fine unless you put words in front of it. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, with Masters coming up in a couple weeks, everybody talks about the 12th at Augusta. Well, 12th is a very, very narrow front to back green. It's wide, but it's very narrow lengthwise. So your carry dispersion has to be tiny, but it angles kind of from left to back right. So as the more right you go, the farther away the green is, the longer the shot. So they stick that pin in the back right, and there's that huge roll off in front, so that if you're a little bit, if you hit it, cut it in there and comes a little short, it's in the water, you're making double.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the biggest sucker pin ever. And I've tried to take an extra club and fade something in there and ended up in the water. And we see people do it every single year. Whereas, Tiger of the year he won just went, hit it over the bunker, middle of the green, 2-putt, and get the heck out of there. Like, you don't attack that pin unless you're chasing really hard and you really want to win. It's just the biggest sucker pin ever, because the probability of hitting that shot to that pin in the water is so high.
No, I agree. And again, to me, par threes with hazards, that's a true strategy. We talk strategy on par fives, but we're assuming you control the ball well enough listening to this podcast that, the strategy of I can't be here. And I know for a lot of golfers, especially younger golfers, they don't like the word can't or don't or what have you. But, there's a time on your yardage book where you got to put an X down and say, you just can't go here. Yeah, you can draw a big happy circle over here, like be here, whatever you need to be in your safe space. But again, like that concept of I can't attack this part of the golf course because bad things happen. So again, I think that strategy and I think a lot of players don't think strategically of, okay, my average miss looks like this. So let's say pin's tucked back right, water right. Like a good shot could still end up in the hazard. Like they've got to understand the concept of what my miss is and what I train and what my actual shot looks like. So again, just pulling your target over a couple feet might allow that average shot to still be on the green and not in trouble. That's where I see to me, collegiately, that's where I saw the biggest. I would just literally just shake my head like, oh my God, I just hit in the hazard. And they're so mad. I'm like, that was a good shot. Like that was a intolerant shot. And you just hit in the hazard because you're an idiot. Like you just took an awful line. So, so kind of circling back into Game Forge and how can I train, do you think, on a par three where there's a hazard condition? What would be some training thoughts that you could actually go apply in at the training site to get you ready for your next event?
Well, we always talk about dispersions. You kind of have to know your own dispersion. World-class lateral dispersion is, 5-6%, left to right. And, as we know, you can hold up two fingers and get a 5% lateral dispersion left and right. And that's a good shot. You know what I mean? There's going to be plenty that are out at, 7 or 8% they're going to be three fingers out. Doesn't mean everything's inside two fingers, but if you want to be ultra safe from a hazard, if you have a look and hold up three fingers and go three fingers left or right of it, that's a pretty safe target. That's you have to hit a really bad shot to end up in the hazard, at least laterally, if you go three fingers left or right of the hazard. Now it might not put you super close to the pin, and that's kind of where you've got to decide, what is my strategy right now? Am I in the middle of the tournament? I just need to make par here and be safe, maybe at 20% chance of making birdie, or do I have three holes left and I'm losing by one and I just have to go? I just have to go at it. And if I end up in the hazard, I'm done, but I have no other choice. Yeah. Or do I think the other guy's the other player is gonna make a mistake there? So there's some gamesmanship going on there for sure.
And then strategy C, maybe I just want a par and finish second or third and be happy.
Yeah, that's player's choice. Yeah. That's player's choice. You want to be 95% not going to hazard laterally, play three fingers away from the hazard.
No,
and then you got to hit a really crappy shot to go in it if you do. And okay, you hit a 1 in 50 crappy shot. Okay, that happens.
Yeah,
but that's an option.
No, I agree. I think finger dispersions are fascinating on a par three. I think they're probably the most powerful because it can really give you a better target line. Like, let's say I'm two fingers, I'm going to be hitting my average shot. Like, can I put my two fingers up and adjust it? So let's say I'm a draw player. So I'm taking everything in from right to left. Like my cone is going to be from the pin, two fingers to the right. That's going to be my cone of a good shot. So anything that lands in that shot technically is within tolerance. Was it a great shot? Maybe not, but it to me, it's a good enough shot. So as long as that cone you can shift that over where my average shot, or again, if you want to play it safer, even a bigger miss, like is not, so my outer edges of my cone never see the hazard. That's a win. Like, yeah. And then mentally, what does that do for you? I can literally sit on the tee box and go, there is no chance in heck that I can hit it in that right hazard. There's just no way. Like, I know the way everything is designed. I know how I swing and everything's going on. Like, I can't reach that hazard. Like, so to me, the mentality for a player sitting on a tee box on a tough dangerous par three, saying there's no way in heck I can go in that hazard, you're winning. You're winning without winning.
Yeah. Now, occasionally you'll get up to a par three, and I had this situation a couple of weeks ago where you got the long, narrow par threes, and the width of the par three is less than 5% of the tee shot distance. So you've got 200-yard par three, and 5% of that would be 30 feet wide, and you've got a 20-foot wide or 25-foot wide place where the pin's on. Well, strategy is just hit the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've got to hit a good shot. Just full stop. You have to hit a good shot. Target the middle. Even if you hit the middle and the pin is on the right side of a 25-foot wide green, you're still only got a 12-footer. You're still going to have a good birdie chance. So that there are situations, and those are tough par threes where they, in a good dispersion, they're still bringing hazards into play. There's no way to play away from the hazards. You've got bunkers on both sides. You have a bunker on one side and water on the other side. You've got water on both sides. And I've seen those, and those are hard, especially when the length of the par three gets longer and longer. But that's where you just got to be smart and be like, okay, I understand they purposely made this narrow left to right, or like the 12th at Augusta, the carry dispersion is smaller than a typical tour player's carry dispersion. So if the carry dispersion is, let's say, 6%, and the depth of that green is maybe 4% dispersion. So you're going to hit some in the bunker. You're going to hit some in the back, which might be the bunker or might be the hill on the backside, which is dead. If you hit in the hill in the back, you're dead. You're done.
Yeah.
But they purposely force that into play, right? You have to hit a better than good shot. You have to hit a top 30% shot, not a 70% shot, to actually get away and make birdie there or even par.
Yeah. But again, that's the beauty of golf, is that but those are fewer and far between. I think a lot of times you have a lot more play room on par threes than people think they or give themselves credit for. And to stay away from, I always say, stay away from stupid. Don't let stupid show up in a round of golf. And that, again, when you take a bad strategy, stupid shows up pretty quickly. And again, if you can do things to help mitigate that, it's a positive. And I'll give you one of my best stories, kind of talking about a green that you were talking about. I just started coaching. We're in nowhere, North Carolina, maybe even, I don't even remember. There's a par three, really tight. I had a girl the first day, she hit it in the water, went to the drop zone, got up and down. Second day, she hit it in the water, went to the drop zone and got up and down. Third day, I looked at her, I said, chip to the drop zone. And she looked at me like, you are effing nuts. I go, no, chip. Literally, it's like a 40-yard chip. I go, chip to the drop zone. She tripped to the drop zone, hit it to about 6 feet, made the putt, made par. Beauty of a college coach, you can force that to happen.
You can actually make them do that?
You can make them do that.
She actually said yes to that.
Yeah, she actually agreed to it. She literally was, she looked at me like.
Were the other players on the group just like.
They just were like, whatever.
Like, all right, y'all got issues. Y'all go sort out your issues.
Yeah, trust me. We were a Division II team. After you're probably 1 and 2 players, it's kind of a hot mess after that. She was one of our hot messes. Quickly. But I'm like, for 2 days in a row, you've gotten up and down from the drop zone for bogey. Let's make par today. And to her credit, she did it.
Oh, she got up and down for bogey, right?
Oh, yeah, she got up and down for bogey both days. So this day, she actually got up and down for par.
So her score increased. Say, hey, what's the rule? Don't hit in the water on the par three.
Tie it all together.
Not that we should really have to ever say that to somebody, but I think what people don't realize is that hitting the water on par three doesn't mean bogey. It means double bogey.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, it means double bogey, and I think that's missed on people.
I agree. I think most people think when they hit it in the hazard, a water hazard, they think it's just a bogey. It's just one shot. But in par threes, it's not. Because, again, you're either reteeing from where you just hit from, which you're going to average par anyways, or you're taking a drop at probably if we go back to our par 5 curve, probably it could be somewhere in that curve where we're not going to hit it super close. So, again, the concept of when you hit a hazard on a par 3, you really are making double. So that's the part we're really trying to hit home on this. So I think, again, training wise, starting to understand dispersions is key for par 3 scoring. And then kind of circle back for par 5 scoring. It's being able to control the longer clubs and using finger dispersions there as well. So I think, kind of the neat part is I think these two kind of run kind of parallel with each other, long par 3s. being able to take away a dispersion issue as well as par fives. I think training wise, these two are very similar. And again, being able to navigate inside of training and on the golf course to hit the shots you need to do to put you in a good scoring opportunity and prevent big numbers. And so let's go ahead and we've been talking for a while now. So let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. Mark, closing thoughts on today.
Well, this par five, we've talked about it so many times, and every time we do the analysis and every time we look at the scoring averages from different distances, the strategy just comes out the same every single time. Now, yes, you have to go out, and if you're terrible with your hybrid or your 3-wood, yes, you need to go get better at that. If you have a horrendous lie from the rough and you just can't get where you need to get, okay, fine, you can lay up, but do not lay up in the rough. Do not lay up in a fairway bunker. If you're going to lay up, make damn sure you're laying up in the fairway.
Lay up in a hazard's my favorite.
Yeah, lay up in a hazard, but that's non-negotiable. Like laying up in the fairway bunker is the stupidest thing you can do. Like, don't even bring it into play. If you're going to lay up and go short of the fairway bunker or long of the fairway bunker, but stay out of the fairway bunkers on your layups. It's just death. The rough is also. So layup means you're going to hit it in the fairway. So let's just make sure that's really very, very clear. Going for it, you do not have to hit it in the fairway when you go for it if you're inside 40 yards, but you do have to hit the fairway if you're going to lay up. Otherwise, you've just screwed yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So, so everybody that's listening to this podcast, I hope you've learned something great from this. I have my member this weekend. So anybody that's listening to this that might be playing in that, lay up on your par fives and go after every par three where it's really difficult. I'm lying. Everything we just talked about, it was all fake. But for the rest of you, I think this will give you some good insight. A lot of you are probably going, yeah, I know this. This is really simple. But again, I think just kind of reiterating this, hearing it again, and for some of you, this might be new. Just start thinking about what the numbers tell you. Golf is a very numbers game. There's a lot of insight to be learned by what the field has done, what people have done. If you want to learn more about that, you can definitely reach out to us here at GameForge. We want to thank you for your time. We want to thank you for you listening to GameForge in the hunt. The last 2-3 weeks have been our biggest. We've had close to 1,000 downloads. We appreciate that. You guys listen to two clowns here. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your feedback, and continue to listen. Keep giving us feedback and ideas, and we look forward to bringing more information to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.